It can't end this way. Not in stinking Pittsburgh. Oh, Paul Heyman, never ever change. Otherwise, you would then be known as Paul Changeman. Boo this man. Boo this man. I'm Charles Renton with the retro review of WWE Unforgiven 2001. Taking place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Nearly 14,000 people there to cheer on the hometown hero himself, Kurt Angle, who's taking on Stone Cold Steve Austin in the main event. And we get a pretty loaded card with some good stuff, some bad stuff, and Chronic versus Undertaker and Kane. Oh, fucking dear. Can't wait to talk about this stuff. Let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. Because we've got about 2 months left of this Invasion Angle coverage. And then I might just review the rest of 2001, because why the fuck not? Vengeance 2001 was a good show. But before that, let's talk about this. Jennifer Holliday's hair helmet sang America the Beautiful. She actually can sing, but the hair was too fucking distracting. And I would know something about hair, 100%. So we get JR and Heyman on commentary. And the heat match, by the way, was Billy Gunn versus Tommy Dreamer. Well, at least they aren't still wrestling that. Oh, wait. So anyway, the Hardees versus Hurricane and Landstorm versus Big Show and Spike Dudley versus the Dudleys WWE Tag Team Championship Elimination match. It was fine. I mean, there was a good pace to it, but there was no doubt the Dudleys were going to retain here and what teams it was going to come down to. The crowd did pop for the Hardys, especially when Jeff took his shirt off. Ah! All the women went crazy. So all the single ladies, all the married ladies, all the ladies, and many of the guys went crazy in the goddamn crowd. So anyway, Spike went after Hurricane because he's trying to get his girlfriend. No, you can't get my girlfriend to be your sidekick, even though he eventually does. So later we get a melee, we get dives. Spike dives off of Big Show's shoulders. That's hard to say. And Bubba stops Show from doing a dive, which was probably smart because we wouldn't have wanted to pick up so many dead bodies with a freaking spatula. That would have been something. And we would need a giant spatula, almost as big as it would take to pick up a 20-foot omelet. What am I even on about anymore? Choke slam the Storm, 1, 2, 3, and then Spike got hit with the Twist of Fate soon after, 1, 2, 3, down to the Hardys and Dudleys. And, well, they had a decent contest until Jeff got grounded with a sleeper hold for about 5,000 years. And hot tag to Matt. Later, 3D for 2. Oh, no, because Jeff hit a swanton on Devon. But then a bubble bomb to Matt while the referee was distracted. A lot of referee distractions and ref bumps on the show. Devon covers 1, 2, 3. RVD tells Stephanie, well, I appreciate your you offering to help me take on Chris Jericho, but I'm a one-man team. And that how he needs a locker room big enough for his superstar status. And she says, well, take any locker room you want. Gee, you think he's going to end up taking Austin's locker room? They never play off of that any time later. So, Michael Cole is interviewing Kurt Angle's family about what's to come in the main event. And, well, that's all I got to say about that. Raven with Terry took on Saturn. They were fighting over a mop that was put in a wood chipper. They are fighting over shampoo. They were literally fighting over a mop that was put in a wood chipper. I can't get over that. Saturn wins in a few minutes. Let's move on. Hastily, please, quick. Christian talks about, you know, achieving his dreams, fulfilling his dreams, unlike anybody in the crowd in Pittsburgh. Classic heel heat. Christian, with his golden showers, took on his brother Edge, who was no longer his brother when he came back to WWE in 2009. I will never understand that. It was for the Intercontinental Championship. The question was, Edge suffered a slight concussion. That easy for me to say. Well, you know, slight. It actually wasn't that, but it was played off because of the concerto on, you know, a recent Raw. And, oh, could Edge come back? He did come back and attack Christian on the SmackDown just before this. And Edge did get busted open above the eye after, you know, targeting Christian for a bit. And he was bleeding. That was actually a pretty nice touch. There were a few, you know, bits of, like, you know, juice that actually did help. Later, Edge goes underneath the ring to fool Christian for no goddamn reason to dive off of him, you know, or dive on him with a crossbody. We get a near ref bump. Christian hits a spear for 2. And then we get the concerto being stopped. First, Christian gets stopped, and then Edge gets stopped. And while Edge is arguing with the referee, he was going to do it first. He gets low blow with the chair. And the most devastating maneuver in all professional wrestling. Surprise, roll up, 1, 2, 3. Well, technically, he really didn't get rolled up. I'm just going to roll with it because that's how you do things. And honestly, it might as well have just been him rolling up because that wins the match every goddamn motherfucking time. So, moving on. Taker says they're going to take out Chronic tonight, and oh boy, did they ever. Chronic comes out to absolutely zero reaction. Taker and Kane get a pretty good pop. This is one of the worst WWE pay-per-view matches in the last 20 years. I'm serious. This was such a fucking dumpster fire. It was amazingly bad. Brian Clark and Brian Adams had wrestled for a number of years in WWE and WCW. You would have thought these guys would have at least gotten a little bit better. Now, I understand wanting to stay strong and everything, but fucking Christ, this was a dumpster fire. Spectacularly bad, and you have to see this. Seriously, watch this thing play out. You can see Taker visibly frustrated. Kane, you really can't tell except a little bit of body language that he might have been upset because he was masked at this point. And Chronic just no-sold a lot, and they kept messing up. And then we got a minute-long sleeper, which actually, summarizes this goddamn match. It was a 10-minute-long sleeper. And then we get a choke slam on Clark, 1, 2, 3. Taker was visibly upset. Then Steven Richards got beat up by Kane, and we all cheered because Steven Richards is a bit of a crackpot, if you didn't know. So anyway, Taz then tells Shane and Booker, hey, the title has to come back to the Alliance. I'm rooting for you. And Stephanie McMahon beat Rock last weekend. If she can beat Rock and you can't, what does that say about you? Because Taz is going to get excommunicated from the Alliance, even though it seems like they've been going with that for a while. So Stephanie McMahon is outside of RVD's locker room and talking about all the stuff she could do for him. Yes, that kind of stuff. And then Jericho standing behind her and says, oh, it's your birthday tomorrow. How old are you going to be? 37, 38? I'm going to be 25. Oh, I didn't ask you about how many guys you were with last week. Sex jokes. She's a hewer. So anyway, he did say, talking about the party celebration or whatever. I'll bring the balloons. Well, actually, you've got the balloons. I wish you the best of luck tonight. Why not? Funny jokes. Funny jokes. Anyway, RVD versus Jericho. Hardcore Championship match. Okay, the main event was fucking great and the best of the night. This stole the show. Really, 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 really good. Jericho and RVD did some great shit here. You can put aside biases and everything. I can do that with at least how one of these guys is now and the fact that his wife was part of the insurrection attempt and he's not taking responsibility for marrying a stupid twat. But this was well before that and well before he banged Kelly Kelly. While he was with his wife. But whatever. Too many wrestlers, cheat on their significant others. Moving on from that. Great, series of back and forth moves with some nice wrestling to start. Jericho misses a splash outside. Eventually a ladder gets brought in, but that's minutes into the match. The leg drop onto the barricade missed. They kept countering each other's moves really well. I would argue their King of the Ring 2002 match was a little bit better than this, but I will say this was pretty good. I think it was King of the Ring 2002. This was really fucking good. And the suplex on the ladder, one hits one and then one hits the other. Chair to RVD's head. And then we get, the wall is on the ladder. He just tosses the chair in there and then does the freaking thing that he did to Chris Benoit. And then thankfully RVD has not done anything like that Chris Benoit did. So moving hastily on from that, we get some more stuff. So a nice armbar, Fujiwara armbar. Geez, if only somebody came along that did that move better than him, and we know it. So, Stephanie McMahon does cause a bit of a distraction. Jericho tries to hit her with a chair. Van Terminator to the head. 5-star frog splash, 1, 2, 3. Very well done. This is the match you should absolutely go out of your way to see. For the right reasons. Unlike Chronic and Undertaker and Kane, which was shit. So, Shane and Booker took on The Rock in a handicap match for the WCW title. I'm not going to cover this way too much into detail because it was about Shane and Booker having the numbers advantage. Having referee Nick Patrick in their pocket. And Rock does, eventually come back. Test comes in and hits a big boot, but no DQ. Bradshaw chases him off, and then Mike Chioda, basically yells at Nick Patrick, and then what happens is he pulls Shane out. So Shane seemingly just disappears into the void, and then we get the referees battling, and Rock, kicks out of one move. Then 2 ref bumps. Then we get a rock bottom. Earl Hebner comes down, not screwing Brett. 1, 2, 3, and does that. Rock celebrates as Dwayne's Rock Hard Johnson is just out there for everybody to see. Oh my. So anyway, but in all seriousness, it was a good celebration. It wasn't the best use. I would argue the Booker versus Rock at SummerSlam was better, but this was more about just telling the story of Rock overcoming the odds and the heels not being able to do anything, correct in the end. Regal says that, hey, Tori, you gotta stay back here because Tajiri's match is really important. And they say, oh, please, please, please. And Regal, like the great uncle that he is, relents and says, fine, go do your shit. And then Stacy is in WWF New York showing how she shaves in the bath. Stop thinking about it. You know who you are. I know you're thinking about it. At least it wasn't like that shaving scene in Cabin Fever. What happened to Serena Vincent, by the way? What happened to her? She seemed to have a bright future. Also, she was hot, and I imagine still is. Anyway, she was in It Weights, which was really shit, but that wasn't her fault. Tajiri took on Rhino for the U.S. Championship. Tajiri had bad ribs, hit some kicks. Tori got in the ring after being chased by Rhino, twisted her ankle. Tajiri kicked Rhino in the head, tried to do some stuff, but eventually got hit with the gore. 1, 2, 3. That's it. New U.S. champion Rhino. I think he lost it to Edge a little bit later. So, video package on Austin Angle. Really good shit. Huge reaction for Hometown Angle. And boos for Austin. I'm rushing through a lot of this because really outside of the Undertaker, Kane, and Chronic match and the hardcore match, everything else is just kind of eh. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle. Kirk Angel, great shit. His family's at ringside. Unfortunately, his at the time wife, Karen, you know, the trash heap Jarrett was also, or Angle rather, but now Karen Jarrett, you know, that fucking trash heap. She was there, looking as ridiculous as ever. That was a bowl-shaped haircut. Seriously, that was so much of a bowl-shaped haircut. I'm shocked that somebody didn't try to toss a salad. This is getting weird. Let's move on to the fact that this was a brawl and everything. They were brawling, you know, on the stage. You know, very lively crowd. Austin kept targeting the neck, but Angle kept coming back. Austin tried to leave. Angle beat the shit out of him, tossed him off the stage, like Austin did to him on a recent Raw. Some nice little callbacks and storytellings here. That is the one nice thing about rewatching all the TVs leading up to this, except Heat, because I'm not going to watch that stuff. But Raw and SmackDown doing some really, really good shit here. You know, to build up these stories. Even though I will agree, the invasion angle was absolute dog shit, there are some good moments and some nice little storytelling bits that they did here. So yeah, Austin gets carried to the ring. We get the exposed concrete. We get a back body drop on there, and then Angle takes a really stiff backdrop. And suplex on the Spanish announcer's table a few times. Austin keeps clubbing him, keeps clubbing his neck. Gets a sleeper hold. After he flips off Angle's, he flips off Karen, which was nice because that's what she gets for being a Karen. Sorry, Karen, if you happen to be watching this, but you're a good Karen. She's a bad Karen. Anyway, so sleeper hold, we get a near fall, we get a crossbody reversing out of a back suplex, and then we get a low blow. The referee says, "No, Austin, you're not going to get DQ'd. You could shoot him, and I'm not going to DQ you." He didn't say that, but he might as well have. So we get a stunner by Angle for 2. Oh no, Angle slam by Austin for 2. Pile driver by Austin, but just for 2. The stunner gets reversed into the ankle lock, and Austin, even though he's got the apron skirt, he taps out and everything, so da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and it can't end this way, not in stinking Pittsburgh. Everybody celebrates. Really good shit. This was great. The entire Angle family gets in there, except Karen, because she never fucking deserved to be anywhere near wrestling, but great stuff. Angle celebrates, and it was really, really good shit. And they told the story about how Kurt lost his dad at age 16, and he was smiling from high above. Very good stuff. I just didn't have a ton to talk about outside of a few matches on this show. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retland. I'll see you soon.